TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Let's talk about your partner, Hawk. How did you find out that he had passed away?
Well, ironically, I was the last one to know. Buddy Bob Mueller had called me up and, say, hey, what's going on? I said, hey, Bob, what's going on? And he's asking me these questions, and I could feel in his voice that he knows that I don't know yet. And he goes, has anybody called you yet today? I said, no. Why? He goes, when's the last time you talked to Mike? I said, well, I talked to Mike yesterday when he was moving his furniture. I've not talked to him since. He goes, nobody's called you or anything? I said, no. He goes, Joe, and it's about 2 o'clock. He goes, Mike died. And I said, you got to be kidding me, man. It totally hit me like a ton of bricks. And that's how I found out. Bob called me and told me.
Wow.
And the whole morning went by, and it was definitely about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He called me, and that's how I found out.
Were you and Hawk really close outside the ring? I mean,
we were closer at that point in time in our career than we ever were. We had both grown full circle and knew we were not going to make top dollar without each other. And then, I think he looked at when I introduced him to the guys in Phoenix with the Christian guys, it kind of like was saving his life a little bit because, let's face it, he faced death probably about 10, 12 times. I'm talking Mack trucks, falling in 70 feet of water in Leech Lake in northern Minnesota and, with the down jacket and cowboy boots on, drunk at 3:30 in the morning. And the only guy that's in a boat is half paralyzed buddy Matt, who was, in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, and he made it through all this stuff. And he finally learned he did not make it through all this stuff by accident for no reason. He made it to share this with young people, young kids at that time, to show them, hey, man, there's something different in life you may want to look at. Road A, Road B.
All right.
We're back to Road A, Road B again, and he just wanted to show them.
How hard was his passing on you?
Well, it ruined my top dollar for making any money in this business, for one. It hurt my family because my kids loved him like he was his real uncle, and he wasn't, He used to call my kids and say, hey, how's it going, James, in football and hockey? How's it going in hockey and softball? Hey, Joe, you getting ready to go in the Army? I mean, he was cool that way. He was great that way. He really cared about kids, and he cared for his own nieces and nephews too. And it made it hard, man, because we grew real close, and doing the Christian events made us even closer because now we had a different purpose.
Right.
You know what I mean? And but I don't think it was just us getting closer. Everybody he dealt with, he got closer at that time. I look back now, and I know he knew that his heart was messed up bad. Now.
How do you know that?
Well, now that I look back, because I talked to a couple of buddies of his when after he passed, I said, Joe, did you know he was going to a heart specialist on the side? And I said, no, I found this out at his funeral. And a couple of guys or two would tell me, I said, really? I said, yeah, I think his heart was damaged so bad he knew. And as soon as he got done lifting the last heavy thing for his wife to move out of the condo to the house, his body just kind of said, oh, all right, I'm done now. I could go now, and she'll be cool, And that's what I think happened. He laid down and never woke up.
What do you attribute the heart problems from?
Well, it was coke. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, yo-yo. A yo-yo effect, for sure, 100%. No doubt in my mind. Because I seen him in Australia on a 2-day binge, and I watched his resting pulse rate laying down before a match was 188. Yeah, right. So
that's like running around.
Mine sitting in a doctor's office the other day was 70, which is pretty good. I've been doing a lot of aerobics and stuff, and that 70 is great for my age right now. And his was 110 beats more than that, 120 beats more than that. So, I mean, just goes to show you, I could see his chest moving as he was laying there. And when we were in Australia, he called me up and he said, Animal, 3 guys have died with the same exact crap that I got in here. You get me out of here and taking me home. I'm not dying over here. I'm going home if I'm going to die. And I could hear the nurse saying, no, sir, you can't leave. You're too, this and that, and this and that. And I said, you really want to go home? He said, yeah. I said, all right. And I could hear him saying, ma'am, I got a 325-pound partner that says I'm leaving. And I came over there in a tank top and a bandana, and I said, where's the papers? I signed them out. I walked them through the Melbourne airport. And I walked him through LAX, shipped him off to Tampa, and Dale picked him up. Good thing her father was a top heart surgeon in the country. Her dad was. and put him on a special medication. He literally had to do nothing but light aerobics for a year. A year. That's a year no money.
Right.
I mean, you're no money for me too.
I was gonna say, was there ever a time where you took Hawk on the side and said, "Look, you're effing up. You got to look out for both of us," or was he the kind of guy that wouldn't listen to you?
No, at that time there was so much interference with outside influences. You couldn't tell him that, not without it being a real fight. You know what I mean? We threw away, or I should say, he threw away $250,000 when we were at WCW. We had the first guaranteed big contracts. We still had $250,000 left on our contract with Jim Hurd. Screw this! I don't like the way they're treating Ellering. We're leaving, Animal. I said, Mike, I got 3 kids. What do you mean we're leaving? And he just gets up and quits because he's on a binge and leaves. I said, well, I guess I got to go. I'm his partner. They don't want me by myself. They want the Road Warriors. So I had to leave too. But he went on to go to Japan. I finished out the dates with WWF at the time.
Right.
And then I guess when I got hurt over in Japan.
Did you guys ever have any blows? You guys ever come to blows ever?
We went at it once in the locker room when we were, I think, in the business for a month.
This is back in Georgia?
Yeah, it was. We never even got any swings, and the locker room broke us up right away.
You think Hawk was misunderstood?
That Hawk was? Yeah. I think the people that got to know the true Mike Hegstrand knew that he was a great guy. He'd give you the shirt off his back, and if you didn't have the shirt off his back, he'd borrow the shirt off his back to give to you.
Right.
The kind of guy he was.
Do you think that his death could have been prevented, or?
I think if he beat so many things. He beat Hep C, did the interferon treatments with Hep C, beat it. Less than 10% or 1% chance beats it. He beat it. He was such a physical specimen. I think the cardiomyopathy, I think he damaged it too bad at that point. I think after the Hep C, if he would have cleaned up and stopped what he was doing, I think he would have been fine. But I think once you damage it like you did, I don't think there was a point. I think it came to a point of no return. That especially when I found out that he was seeing heart specialists at home, because he would turn the weirdest color in the ring. He would turn blue red. And I don't know if it was a circulation problem or something, but something was not right. And we could see it. All of us could see it. Of course, he knew, like I said, one speed, 150 miles an hour. If he was drinking, it was 150 miles an hour. If he was doing this, 150 miles an hour. He did not know 75 miles an hour. He knew 150.
Right. Did any of the other boys ever take him on the side and try to talk? Did he
No, the problem was the other boys were antagonistic.
Ah.
Some of the other guys said, man, you're the man, Hawk. I can't believe you're doing all this. Knowing that soon enough, his spot on the roster is going to be gone. They'll be able to slide right in. That part, I was telling him. They don't care about you, Mike. I care about you. I'm your friend. I'm making money with you. I'm your partner. They don't care about you. I tried to tell him that, but then he said, no, they wouldn't do that to me. I think, Jake was one. I know Jake was one because Mike told me Jake was one.
Wow.
I wanted to kill Jake at one time because he was feeding Mike full of crap. Well, Animal's bad guy. He's bad-mouthing Vince. He's bad-mouthing anybody back. I would never was doing any of that. He knew that afterwards. I would never do that to him.
Right.
I had a problem with Mike. I'd have went right to his face and listen, Mike.
Are you still close with his family at all, or?
No, everybody kind of split their own ways. There was a big bad thing at the end there. His younger brother took part of Mike's ashes, and Mike's wife was going to give them ashes anyway, and it just got to be a big mess.
Huh.